to FLOSSTUBE Extra. I am Susan K with Susan X Stitches. Today is Tuesday, March 25th of 2025. I am located here in Spring Green, Wisconsin. It's been a beautiful day here, sunshine and around 50 degrees, so almost shorts weather here in Wisconsin, which is pretty exciting. I am excited to see the birds and the spring come to life, so it is my favorite season and I can't wait. So I'm happy for all of these longer days and warmer nights, so excited for it. So today I just wanted to come on here real quick and share with you a little FLOSSTUBE extra and share with you my favorite tools. So I have a top-down camera that I'm going to be using today to demonstrate or to show the tools, and hopefully that will work for us. Keep our fingers crossed. And know that this is not in any way, shape, or form a professional production. So thank you for watching and being here, and we'll see you from the top down. All right, thank you. Okay, now we're at the top-down camera, and I'm going to spend a few minutes here just showing you the tools that I consider my favorite things. So the first thing that we should talk about, first item, would be needles. And I have a needle keep, or a needle bed, I guess they call them. I think it's a Sajou brand. Doesn't matter, but it's just basically a piece of felt that you can put or wool that you can put your needles into and store them. So I think I got this at Hobby House, maybe, but it's sweet and it's functional for my setup. My favorite needles are Colonial Tapestry Petite and size 28. So I don't know if you can see that, but Colonial Tapestry Petite, size 28. They are tiny little things. And just about an inch, maybe an inch long. And they're perfect for me because you don't have to spend so much time. There's not so much that you have to pull through the linen, and so the needle itself goes through quickly, and then you can just make your next stitch. So depending on how long your thread is, but Tapestry Petite, Colonial number 28s are my favorite, depending on what size linen I'm using. So if I'm using generally 36 or higher count, I will use a 28. I do have some 24s and 26s in the ponies, and I also have those in Colonial. I used to use pony, but I have found that that they bend easily, and that while it doesn't bother me that much, what bothers me is that the black kind of wears off depending on the number of times that you pull through your linen. And so kind of the purpose of it is that it's black so you can see it against your linen where your needle is coming up. And if that point has now become silver, I just as well be using a silver needle. So ponies are more expensive, and I just really have found a love for the Colonial Tapestry Petite. Okay, so that is my needle bed, and what I would keep all of my extra needles in. Okay, my next piece that I have is counting pens, and I keep these right beside my stitching area, which I stitch sitting on the couch with my feet up, and some pillows behind my back, and a light over my left hand shoulder. I'm right-handed, so that seems to work, and these are right on a coffee table right beside me. So it works out really well for me. But I have Miss Piggy, my little friend. If you're ever in Spring Green, I invite you to go visit my friends over at Victoria's Sterling Antiques, and she has some beautiful antiques. And she just so happened one day to have this adorable little piggy in the jewelry case, and I of course fell in love, had to have it. So with the Cohana pins that I use for counting, and then I'll stick my needle in there in between. Usually have a couple there just to thread up with different colors if I'm switching a lot. So all right, so Miss Piggy and I hang out and we stitch. The next tool I would like to talk about is a thread winder. So sometimes when you pull your thread off or cut a longer strip of a silk or something, you may have an extra, and this, you just wrap it around and tuck your needle in there. That's also an easy way to park your needle for a short time. Or if you have a lot of color changes, I like to sometimes thread up excuse me, a few needles and have them ready to go, and I'll just keep them in here and just pull them as I'm ready. So you know, these are, you can get these anywhere. This one happens to be from Country Sampler, but thread winders are pretty, they're ubiquitous, so you should be able to find them around. Of course, we always have a trusted ruler, and this particular one happens to be from Quilter Station down in Lee Summit. But I used to be a center start linen or a center project starter until I realized how expensive linen was. And as I grew up, and my mom, you know, wasn't buying it for me maybe. So I learned how to count or how to measure in 3 and then 3, and this is how I start, either generally in the upper left hand corner, sometimes upper right, but generally upper left. Next thing I always do before I get going too far in is my hands are, you know, I live in Wisconsin, so my hands are dry. I don't have a manicure very much, and my nails look awful, so please forgive. But Cozy, or I guess it doesn't even matter. This is Cozy Cashmere, but it's Stacy Nash's Lotion Bar, and these are really great products. If you've never seen them or haven't tried them, you should definitely do that. And the way that it works is you unwrap it and then you just leave it sitting in your hand for a little bit. Maybe 15, 20, 30 seconds, and it warms up from your body temperature. And as it warms up, it becomes a little bit liquid, and that basically then you can just rub it all over your, rub it all over and then rub it in. It doesn't leave a residue on your linen, it doesn't leave a residue on your floss, and it soaks in fairly quickly. So definitely recommend checking out the Stacy Nash. I know that for market she just launched or introduced a few new scents, and this one was from this past winter season. So we'll have to on the lookout for the new lotion bars. Probably they have them down here at Country Sampler. So and I know that Country Sampler, speaking of which, has their spring open house, I think, this weekend. So that's something to do if you're in the Wisconsin area and want to come over to Spring Green and see some beautiful products at Country Sampler. Okay, my next favorite tools, of course, are my hoops. I have several sizes of hoops. I do have a queen. Of course, we know that these are prized possessions, and I've never, it has a little tension wheel. I haven't used it in my stitching. I don't want to get it, I don't want it to break, and I don't want it to, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. It's more of a collectible for me. So I take photos with it and just want to keep it nice. So I haven't used it, but Hobbies of Holly posted the other day that she was using one, and I was like, oh, I'm too afraid to use mine. And she said, just go ahead and use it and enjoy it. That's what you have it for. So maybe I will take the leap one of these days, but so far I have not. Duchess and Princess also make these, or made these, and these are all vintage. So they're not made any longer, but they are, some of them are felt lined, and I like that a little bit more than those that aren't. This one is also felt lined, the Queen, but I like that because it grips the linen, and it keeps it tight for me. And so this one has a little tensioner that has this spring load. Some of them are just don't have a spring load, don't have any kind of a fastener or a tensioner. It's just really you keep it tight, and then you know, from there you just have to keep pulling it to keep it tight, or repositioning it. The other thing that that you can do is you can wrap the inner with muslin and or twilling tape, and that will help to keep your project tighter in the hoop. So these hoops are light, and that was one thing that I was looking for also. Some of the newer, the Nerge, I don't know, the Q-snaps, those are just really, they're thick, and they were hard for me to hold on to for very long. And so just having it be a little bit thinner and a little bit lighter. The one thing that I do then, I have various sizes of these little wooden hoops, and one thing that I do is, this is probably my favorite size. It's a 6-inch, but I will roll up the fabric, and I'll use these clips, these fabric clips. They don't have teeth, so they don't snag, they don't tear, and don't damage your linen. But they also will clip on, your linen onto the hoop if you want. So, although just as I say that, it's not gonna participate very well. But in any event, it will, and it keeps it. It just manages your linen, I guess, and your extra material. And I sometimes use 3, depending on, how big a piece of linen I have cut for my project. So these clips are really, really nice, and I recommend getting them. They come in various sizes, but I think you can find them at most quilting shops, probably Amazon, 123 Stitch. I'm sure any of your local needle shops may have them as well. Okay, so those are my favorite hoops, and these come in various sizes. So like I said, this is a 6. I have a 4-inch, I have 6, 7, and I think a 9 or 10-inch. And again, depending on what I'm working on will dictate the size of my hoop. But the smaller the better for me, because I can just use these clips to manage my excess linen. Okay. Right, I have a turning tool, and this is to make your little points extra pointy, or your corners extra perfect when you're turning and making the little pin keeps or little pillows. So this particular one is a little bit sharp, so be very careful if you were to get this. It's Clover brand. And be very careful if you're using a lower count linen, because the holes are much wider, and that little point can really wreak havoc with your linen. So be careful not to put a hole in after you've stitched it up, and then just be careful, where your linen is, and make sure you're paying attention to your stitches also, because that can be caught up in a stitch, and you could, potentially damage your piece of work. So chopsticks also work for this tool, or for this, pushing corners out, depending on how sharp you want your corners to be, would dictate which one. I would usually start with the chopsticks, but then finish with this, with just a little bit of a sharper edge, or sharper point. Okay, that is my turning tool. All right, I have a laying tool which helps me with satin stitches. It has a little bit of a point. The way that it works is you hold it in your non-dominant hand, and you, if you're making satin stitches and say you're going from left to right with a satin stitch or side to side, you would bring your needle up, you would put your needle down, and as you're pulling your thread up, you know, you would wrap it around this, and then you would run this a couple of times over or under, I guess, the thread to help the threads lay smoothly, and that will help them lay. And then you pull your satin stitch tight, you remove this, and it lays beautifully on your piece of work. So you can use it, you know, if you're going this way, you would use it this way. You know, if your stitches are horizontal, you would use it perpendicular. If you would use it perpendicular, period. But if your stitches are vertical, you would use it horizontal. So opposite of the direction of your stitch, basically. Highly recommend. If you're doing a lot of satin stitches, that is a great tool to have. Okay. This is one of my favorite sets. Not that I try to do a lot of frogging, but sometimes, you know, it happens. So I have what is called a StitchRip, and then a BooBoo brush. And so my StitchRip is this very pointy little curved razor blade on this wooden dowel, and I prefer this over a standard stitch ripper, if you will, or seam ripper, as the little point will just allow you to work with finer detail, in a finer detail. So if you're working with the higher count linens, this is a great tool to have, because otherwise you sometimes get in and you catch a piece of linen with the others because they are so big, or you just can't even get the tip of it in to even start the ripping, and so you're then left trying to, you know, use your scissors to try to snip it out, and those scissor tips are certainly thicker, not as fine as the stitch rip. And so definitely look into this. I think I got it at Hobby House, and last I checked, they were still they were still available. But it's great. It's really, really sharp, and I would just recommend being extra careful with that. Okay, you heard the dog squeaking her toy. So Millie, she has these little emoji men that we call them, and she absolutely loves them. So once you've ripped out your stitches or cut your stitches, then you know you have to get it out of the linen. And so this is called a BooBoo brush, and it is one side of the bottle brush or bristle brush is softer than the other. One side's firmer down here. And so the way that it works is after you've done your ripping, then you turn your piece of linen over, your work over, and from the back you use the soft side first, and then you move on to the coarser. And what you'll get is a lot of little fuzzies out of this. So it will take all the fuzz out of your linen and make your fabric clean for your next start of stitching, because you've had to frog. So I know that some people use mascara brushes, and that I think also works. What I like about this is that it's got the two different textures of bristle, and so when, you know, sometimes they're stubborn depending on how tiny the stitches are, and they're woven into the linen that you've made. You know, the stitches are made into the linen, stitched into the linen, so it's tight and it doesn't want to come out. But the coarser side here, the harder, firmer, bristly side will actually help get all of it out, all that fuzz. And so I really do prefer these, or prefer this over a mascara. Mascara brushes, though, disposable ones, work just as well. You just may have to do it a little bit more firmly, and it may not be as efficient. All right, so that's my frogging. Those are my frogging tools. My favorite way to manage my threaded products, or my spooled products, are with a Tidee made thread box. And my friend Heidi at Whips and Kits shared about this with me. These can be found on Etsy and eBay or the secondary market, and they are vintage. Oftentimes they will come with spools of thread, wooden spools of thread in them. So antique vintage threads. And so they're just really neat little plastic boxes. These were dirty, so dirty when I got them, and I just actually, I mean, probably shouldn't have, but I did put it through the dish machine just a little bit just to clean it up, and it seemed to work okay. Didn't melt it or anything, so thankfully that was good work. But it looks like it holds 14, and it did hold 14. Both of the ones that I purchased on the secondary market, actually, this corner was broken off, and instead of there being, a place for a bobbin holder, right? Instead of being this plastic piece for the spool, it was a thimble. And so I wondered if that was something that they did in back in the day, was remove one of them so that their thimble would easily fit in there. Gutermann also makes these. You can buy them on Amazon. They are, I think, a 9, 18, and 27 little slot holes. And so there is a modern day version of this. Additionally, I know, which I don't have, but I think I would like, and Brenda and the Cereal Starter talk about them. They're from some European company, and I'm not sure what maker it is. I've started to look into it, and then I've gotten sidetracked. So, but they are like silicone. They look like water bottle ice cube trays, and they're silicone little pieces or little mats that several of these slide into and hold them tight. So, the beauty of that is that if it gets knocked off of your table or whatever, they're not going to go flying. In this case, these will still go flying. What I'll do, though, sometimes is turn the lid upside down and just lay them, accordingly. And that kind of keeps them a little bit safer. But again, it's whatever you get used to, and whatever works for you. I do think the silicone would be nice to have, but these are also fun to have just from a vintage aspect. Okay, Tidee made thread boxes and Gutermann thread boxes. One thing I will say is I will link, I'll try my best to link all of these tools to the places and the sources that I acquired them from. It'll be, it may be harder for something that's vintage, but I can at least, say Etsy or eBay or whatever. So I'll do my best to get that all linked up. But if you see something, and down in the description of this FLOSSTUBE Extra, if you don't find the link, you can always reach out, email or DM or message down below, comment down below in the FLOSSTUBE. Okay, so that's my, for my spooled threads. My holder, or the way that I manage my my other threads, and really when I say other, I mean DMC, because DMC is really the only other one that I've had that needs a floss drop. And so I found these floss drops because the over dyes, the over dyes already come with, with the weeks already has a little hole, or I make another hole for it, and it's already labeled, and same with the Classic Colorworks and the Gentle Arts. And so there's no point, in my opinion, to take them off of those paper cards if they're already labeled and the work's already done. So I'll just leave them on there, put them on one of these key rings that has a it's just threaded, and it just threads up and down, and whichever way opens and closes here. But these little cable key rings are really nice. This, I think, is a 6-inch. They make smaller ones as well, so you can get various sizes depending on your project. The one I grabbed happens to be a little bit bigger. But, okay, so back to these floss drops. I love these floss drops because of this reason right here. You can take your DMC off, you can do your cut on it, and then you can slide the DMC number, little paper, whatever this is called, this little, I don't know, this little label tag, slide it off, do your cutting, and then it slides right on to this little group right here. So it is tight. You do have to kind of pinch it together a little bit when you're applying it. But what I love is that I don't have to relabel or try to write or keep a sticker managed on there, because sometimes the stickers come off or my ink isn't permanent, and it's just, to me, just more of a hassle than it's worth. So when I saw these, I actually thought this was great. And I did. I think they come in packs of 20, and I use them for my DMCs. When I have silks, whether it's you know, a dinky dye, or it's a soie d'Alger, or you know, a belle soie or something, I will keep them in floss away bags, just because the silks tend to fray a lot, and after you've spent that kind of money on a piece of thread, or you know, 5 yards of thread or whatever it is, I would think that you would want to protect it. And so I do protect mine with the floss away bags. I just think that's a better plan. And then for my projects, I will take one of these little craft, I think these are called business cards and I got them at Amazon. I'll put a hole punch in it, and then I'll write the project name, the linen that I'm using, the count that I'm using, am I using called fors, or have I made changes, conversions, and then finally the date started, and then on the back I'll write the date finished. And I will keep these after I take my kit apart and put my floss back in its organization space. Then I will keep these, and I just think it's kind of fun to keep track of everything. And I put them in my book of days, and then just see at the end of the year how many I've had. So that's fun. All right, so that's how I organize my DMC and floss on the rings for my projects. Okay, so my next favorite tool is I guess, my Cohana scissors. You know, of course, my name is Susan, and Susie Snowflake is a thing. So I have, when I saw these with pink, I was like, oh my gosh, Susie Snowflake definitely needs these. And so I did order these for this last holiday season. I love them. They are so lightweight. They are actually perfect little scissors. And I haven't collected, this is my only pair of Cohanas. I'm sure that at some point I'll have a black pair and a navy pair and a red pair, and maybe a baby pink pair. But at this point, this is it, and they are my favorite scissors. So I just, you know, I don't know, the little leather sleeve keeps them protected. And every night I will, you know, when I go to stitch, I'll pull them out, but then every night I put them back in, and then into their little I have a little inkwell, a glass inkwell, antique inkwell that I store my scissors in, and so they just slide right in there, and they're ready for me for the next stitching session. And Cohanas are really nice, so if you ever have an opportunity, you should check them out. But if, you know, any pair of scissors will actually work, and any pair of, or any needle will actually work for your stitching. And you don't have to have all of these tools. I just, you know, I want to make sure that I say that and make that clear. Just because I have them doesn't mean that they are required to do any stitching at all. So truly the only thing you need is, you know, needle, thread, and linen, and then your imagination to put it all together onto your piece of fabric. So it doesn't even have to be linen. Could be cotton, could be Aida, you know, I mean, could be a piece of muslin for all, you know, just with an embroidery or what have you. So again, just because these tools are my favorites doesn't mean that they are required. so keep that in mind. All right, and then this is like an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to turn it so maybe you can see it a little bit better. So this is a Loran, and probably from 1980 or whatever. And it's a magnetic board. This is what I put my charts on, and I will keep track of of the way that I go. So, you know, top to bottom, left to right is generally how I stitch. I'll finish a page, move on to the next. Very, very methodical, very process driven. And but each line, then I will just move it down just for the square, and that will, you know, help me follow along. So I've got a couple magnets just to help keep the paper in place, and depending on, you know, if it's thicker or if it's a book or if it's just a single page, you know, how much extra magnets, how many extra magnets I need for, you know, to keep it in place. So these are great, and I have a few, maybe 3 of these or something, and I keep them with my projects. Love them and highly recommend a magnetic board. These are the best needle minders. So any of these are you know, any of these are functional needle minders, and this particular one, you know, just slides on there. Your needle is magnetic and it just clips on. What I love about, so these 2 I received at retreat, at the Country Sampler summer camp last year as little table gifts. And these, my mother gave me this beautiful one, and this is one that I purchased. But this is by, I think it's called Puffin and Company. But the beauty of these, I keep stuttering, sorry about that, is that they're just so, the magnets are just so strong. And so you can literally like leave your needle here with thread on it, throw it into your bag, your project bag or whatever. And these things are so tight, I mean, so hard, so strong of a magnet that, that it will keep your needle and your thread in place, even through all of the craziness of travel in a bag. So they've got adorable designs, and they have a little birdhouse, and they've got, you know, little birds, and they've got an American flag heart, and, you know, just I think a cat and probably a dog, and lots of different shapes, different types of metals. And in and of itself, they're a work of art. So again, just adorable and highly functional because of that strong magnetic, you know, that strong magnet that it has with it. All right, and this is for the times where, which is all the time for me, where I want to finish a row, but I don't quite have enough floss. So I'm like doing everything I can, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I have enough at the end to be able to slide under stitches and finish out my, you know, my thread so it doesn't come loose. So that's what this is for. This will slide in. You basically then pull your needle out, unthread, you know, pull your needle through, unthread it, thread this thing after it's been run under some stitches, and then thread it with your little tiny short end on your thread, and then pull it back out, and that will then run the thread underneath stitches and secure it for for tying off or for ending your thread and starting your next one. And so I will I use this a lot. It's an invaluable little tool. Unfortunately, I use it probably too much. Because I get to the end and I'm just like, oh, I want to get that finished. I hope I've given myself enough, and it doesn't. You know, wonders never cease. I always am cutting it very close and very tight on that. So that's a great tool. Again, I'll let you know where you can find these things. This one I think I got at 123 Stitch, but highly functional. Seems silly, but works and helps me out a lot. This is called a Snag Nabbit. This is at the ends of your threads. I like to leave the ends of my threads longer until I'm finished with a piece, and then I will come back and clip my ends shorter on the back. And the way that sometimes as I'm stitching the next one, maybe one of those thread ends will pull up with a stitch, and so this will help just poke it back down through the linen and keep it in place. Keep it in place on the back side and not on the front side. So that I use that for that when I have thread ends that come through with previous, or with the next stitches. Okay, all right, so that's my magnetic board. I do have a book of days. This is something that I'm just starting this year, and I wasn't sure if I would really use it or get into it, but I have really been trying to just keep track of what I'm stitching and when I'm stitching, and also, like, if I know there's an event coming up, like I'll pencil it in so that I can be aware of it, that maybe I need to start looking for registration or something. And of course, all the stickers are fun to have, and as the months go on, you just keep writing and keep filling in. I have this clipped up here, but just keep filling in and keeping track of all of your stitches. Book of days, I'm finding it very useful, and I think it's going to be fun to have, to be able to look back on, and have for just to have history, right? And to know, what I did, and eventually, like maybe next year, or maybe even like later this year, I'll start putting how many hours that I am stitching on each project. I haven't done that yet, but I was thinking the other day, wonder if I should do that, and that's interesting just to keep track of. Also, I know some of the software, the Markup XP, and whatever. There's a lot of other options out there for managing your projects and where you are on the in your pattern or in your chart, and how many hours you've spent on it. But I haven't moved into that era yet. I'm still on my paper and pencil era, and which brings me to my next point. I always have a pencil, and pencil because you can erase, and I love to take notes on my charts, and keep track of things that I've done or things that I've noticed about it when I'm stitching, and again, I just think it's kind of interesting to be able to just make a little note for yourself. So pencil is always in my kit as well. So what do I keep my tools in? My tools, I have, for Christmas, I received some two J&P Coats, antique thread cabinets, and one is 4-drawer, one is a 6-drawer, and I love them very, very much. They are very, very special. And I have, a lot of my tools, a lot of my charts in there. But for my tools that I'm stitching with, I have my very first project bag, if you will, and I didn't even know I needed it or wanted it. and then I, of course I see all of the floss tubers and everybody talking about their project bags, and they're beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I just have never taken the time to either research them or invest in them. And so at Christmas, one of my aunties from Hawaii, Auntie Elva, she made for me, because I am a former baker, and she made for me, pink's my favorite color, she made for me this little bag, this little pouch. And I suspect that she thought that this was going to be maybe something for my handbag, something for makeup, or something to keep in my my purse to carry with me. But I have turned it into my toolkit, and this is really what I keep all of my little tools in, and I love it. And I always can find it because I know, you know, it's pink, and I know what it looks like, and so if it's in a bag, I can always identify it right away and make sure that I have it, you know, just by a quick glance. If I'm going somewhere to stitch, or you know, what have you. So this is great. She's a beautiful seamstress. Perfect little stitches, and so thank you, Auntie Elva. I appreciate it. I love it, and it is used every day. Prior to this, and I have a feeling that project bags are going to be probably in my future. So I need to probably embrace that idea a little bit. Prior to that, though, I would use you know, the old school Ziplocs, which again works, and it works well. These little guys are actually a little bit better than a Ziploc, though, because they're a little bit more secure, I guess, or a little bit thicker, and a little sturdier. You can buy a set of these on Amazon in various sizes. You can also buy them, I know 123 Stitch, Lori Holt at Fat Quarter Shop has some adorable ones that are gingham that you can actually stitch on, I believe. But anyways, I love these little zipper pouches, and I keep my projects in these bags. So various sizes, again, depending on the project. Okay. And I think my final tool, if I'm looking here real quick, just taking a quick glance, is my I guess I have two tools. So my magnifying glasses, though. These are available for purchase on Amazon. They come with the earpieces or a strap. I chose to put the strap on because I thought they were a little bit heavy on my nose, and it was just more comfortable with the strap. And so that's what I chose. They come with, I think, 5 different magnification lenses that slip in and out. So very easy. So this, I think, is, what, 2.5? And I apologize for the fingerprints. They also light, and so you can adjust your light, you know, up and down depending on where you want it. And there's 2, you know, lighter or, you know, dimmer or brighter, I guess. And this piece adjusts, so depending on how close you need it to be to your eyes, this adjusts as well. So there's really just a lot of adjustments for $18 on Amazon. And I have 2 pair of these, and I keep one always charging, so, or not always charging, but when I'm stitching, one is, I make sure is charged, and then when one, you know, kind of goes down, then I start, then I put it on the charger and I pull the other one out. So again, these are rechargeable, and these have been honestly the only thing that has helped me to be able to stitch these higher count linens. And if I had to say there was a secret for me, it's these. I just, before I had these, I really struggled, and so this is something that we found, and they work even though you look funny or silly maybe, but you know, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, or you know, we're not going to get the stitching done. So in any event, I use these and religiously. So all of my stitches are put in with these on, strapped onto my little head. So, okay, so I think that is the end of my tools here. I'm going to stop the top down real quick, and I'll just say goodbye here in a minute, but or wrap up, I guess. I'll just wrap up here in a minute, but I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, so those are a few of my favorite tools. As I said, you know, they're not none of those are required to do any kind of stitching. They don't make me a better stitcher. They don't make me, you know, any different than the next person. It's just things that I have found that make my stitching easier, and or things that I have found that I love and I want to collect. And so I wanted to share with you today this, my first floss tube extra, which is kind of exciting. But there will be more, I hope. And yeah, and otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions after you see the description, or after the video, if you see the description and you haven't quite found exactly what tool it was that I mentioned, and you'd like more information on it, please by all means comment, send me a direct message, Susan X Stitches, on Instagram, or send me an email. I'll be happy to answer any of those questions for you. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. Keep crossing all of your beautiful stitches. Have a great day. Bye-bye.